Yo, what's up team? I'm back in the building bringing y'all that real review, and that's for real. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to push that thumbs up button and subscribe to J3 Entertainment for that real content. Also, let me let you guys know how I get down with my reviews. I give 2 grades in my reviews. I give you guys an audience experience grade, and I give you guys a critic grade. With that being said, let's get into this movie review of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Personally, I've been waiting for this movie because of Infinity War. I needed to know where Ant-Man, Hank Pym, and the Wasp were at when the Earth was being attacked by Thanos. I needed to know that. Let's talk about this movie. This movie takes place 2 years after Civil War, where we find Scott Lang on house arrest, and meanwhile we find Hank Pym and Hope out there with planning a rescue mission to save his wife in the quantum realm. Now I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys in the movie, but that's what the story's about. What did I think about it? I thought the story was cool. I like these Ant-Man stories. Part 1 was a heist film. This one more of a rescue film. I dig that. I dig the story a lot on those aspects, but I also see the downside of the story, and it's the comedy. They really oversaturated this movie with comedy, and it ruined it. It ruined it for me because when you're dealing with rescue missions and saving people, it's serious matters. You know what I mean? But to make jokes about every time you get into that element, you crack a joke, it kind of throws you off. But for the most part, the story was okay. It's just the sprinkles that they put on of comedy that really depreciated the story for me. It's like, damn, I'm getting into it and I'm liking it, but then you're doing dumb shit and then you're making jokes and you just keep taking me out of it. Personally, that's a personal thing. Let's talk about the actors in this movie. This movie is starring my boy Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Lawrence Fishburne, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, and a lot more, but those are the main stars of the film. I love them. I love them. Michelle Pfeiffer, Michael Douglas, Lawrence Fishburne, those are top. Y'all know Michelle Pfeiffer's on my top 10 crushes of all time, baby. You already know that. So when I see her, I'm like, oh, okay, we winning. And Michael Douglas is one of them actors, baby. Don't sleep on him, man. Michael Douglas is that dude, and I love Michael Douglas movies. In fact, I feel Michael Douglas stole the show again. He took it from Paul Rudd, man. He was a miserable old man. He was dope. He had a hearing aid and shit. Had that thing talking to ants. Michael Douglas did his thing in this movie. And you know what? What really impressed me in this movie was how the costume design, the makeup. They made Evangeline Lilly look 10 times better than she looked in part 1. I hated that hairstyle. That's that same weak hairstyle they gave old girl in Jurassic World. And that bob, nigga, she looked weak. They gave her the long hair. She looked more natural. She was beautiful. Those eyes. I dug it. I dug that 100% in this movie. Paul Rudd was Paul Rudd. He was fun, and you understood him. His daughter was in this movie again. I love that father-daughter relationship because me and my daughter, and she was down for pops, and I dug the characters in the movie. The characters really made the movie pop. What really hurt the movie was the comedy. It was oversaturated, especially in those moments, man. It was, I don't want to spoil nothing, but you know, you really felt it. And Michael Pena did his thing. T.I. did his thing. You know what I mean? T.I. was the cool guy. Michael Pena was the gangster, but fast talker, witty, he just all over the place, and I dug it. I let them be the comedic relief. Don't throw it too much in the movie where it's like, damn, that's all we getting. You know what I mean? But the acting was really cool. Directing, I thought, was really good. The directing was good because we're dealing with an Ant-Man film now. So you got elements where you have to get big, small, all stuff like that. And Ant-Man, for you to direct them scenes where it's a little car going, doing. I thought that was brilliant. I love the way it looked. I love you had large ants and stuff. I really dug it. The directing was really cool. The visuals were good. Visually was really good. I didn't watch the movie in 3D, but I did watch it in 4DX, I believe it is. So I don't like 3D. If I don't have to watch it, it gives me a headache. So I didn't watch it 3D, but I did like what I saw. The sound was really cool. The music wasn't memorable. It's like, whatever, I don't care. What else? Yeah, it's a quick rundown of the movie. Let's get on to entertainment. I was mildly entertained though because of the comedy. The movie is entertaining, don't get me wrong, but it's oversaturated with the repetitive situations, and that goes into what he directed in, you know, the little, the big, the small. It's so much you could do with an Ant-Man movie, especially using Scott Lang as Ant-Man, not Hank Pym as Ant-Man, and you see it. You see where Marvel kind of effed up using Scott Lang and not Hank Pym, because Hank Pym is the innovator. He does things, he makes things, he changes things. Scott Lang is just a guy who puts the suit on and does what Hank Pym says. He is a sidekick, you know what I mean? But I was entertained mildly. Wasn't nothing like, oh shit. It wasn't nothing exciting. It was just a entertaining factor. Like, okay, I'm not sleepy, but I enjoyed the movie. Any cons? Any pros and cons? The pros of the movie I always felt was the relationship between Hope and Scott Lang. I love this about that movie. The Wasp is obviously better than Scott Lang. She is the daughter of Hank Pym. She was trained to fight. She's intelligent, far more intelligent than Scott Lang is, especially dealing with quantum theories and all that stuff like that. And I love the fact that they didn't use her brilliance and her skills to overshadow Ant-Man. I love that, because the way these movies have been going, and you've been seeing the woman version always destroying the male version, but in this movie it was a team version. It's the first time I've seen this, and it actually made me feel real good, because you saw a true loving relationship between these two. They have a thing for each other, and they helped each other out. Scott Lang knew he wasn't as smart as her, but he did his best to use what he had to help her, and I dug that. You see the heartbreak in her, you see the love in her, you saw that you knew she was better than him, but she didn't overshadow him. When it was Ant-Man's time, it was Ant-Man's time, and when it was Wasp's time, it was the Wasp's time, and I truly dug that. It was a scene in the movie when he was talking to his daughter. I'm not spoiling anything. It's just a situation talking to his daughter, and he was asking his daughter a question like, how do I be Ant-Man and not hurt you? And she told him, and it gave me goosebumps. She said, you can do anything if you don't quote me on this, but you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And it was crazy, because he didn't want to do, you know, after Civil War, you know, Captain America and them are fugitives, and Ant-Man was locked up, you know what I mean? He didn't want to go back to jail because he loves his daughter, but he knew he had to help Hope because he loves Hope, you know what I mean? And it was crazy seeing that, and I really dug that in that movie. That's what really made the movie for me personally. It was like, okay, they gave this some credit, because what they could have did, they could have just did like the Incredibles and just made that nigga just a whack motherfucker 100% in no form of fashion. Don't give him no Ant-Man shit. Just make her do all the Ant-Man stuff, make her Giant Woman, and just take everything from him and just make him the pawn. But they didn't. They gave him his time, and they gave her time. We understood that this movie wasn't about Ant-Man. It was more about the Wasp and Hank Pym retrieving their wife from the quantum realm. Now, they did have a bad guy in the movie, and I thought the bad guy was a thorn in my ass. Real talk. They didn't utilize the villain like they should have utilized. The villain had this amazing ability where the villain she was trained to kill and hunt and do all this stuff like that, but she only did one part of that, was hunt. And I know why they did it, because of the kids. They didn't want the kids to see violence in an Ant-Man and Wasp movie. This is a family-friendly film, and I get it. And it just shows to you that Marvel, DC, and Disney ain't going in the way of darkness. And I think that's why they use Scott Lang and not Hank Pym, because Hank Pym in this movie is a douchebag old man. I can imagine what he was like when he was young, you know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the film. I was entertained mildly and everything like that. The script was cool. I like it. I dug it 100%. Let's go ahead and grade this thing. Audience experience. I'm gonna give this movie an audience experience. It was cool. The energy was right. Audience experience is tricky though, because some people, it was quiet. No one really clapped at the end, but you could tell people was invested in the film. Audience experience for me, paying attention, I'm gonna give this movie a B-. It's a B- audience experience. However, as a critic, seeing what everything I got, the story was cool, the acting was dope, because I like these actors. They know what they're doing. They're pros at what they do, and I love seeing them. But I feel that a lot of the actors, except for Michael Douglas, they didn't use them. They didn't use them to their full potential, and that's because of the kids. we didn't, you know, I would have loved to see a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman version in this movie where that shit gets serious and dark. Michael Douglas, you know what I'm saying? War of the Roses, that shit get crazy, you know what I'm saying?
He ain't lying.
I didn't even get Lawrence Fishburne. Like, Lawrence Fishburne is that actor, bro. He got Lawrence Fishburne. I didn't get Lawrence Fishburne, man. I didn't even get Paul Rudd and Role Model. You know what I mean? And I felt I was missing out on a lot of that. But it was cool seeing them. They did their thing. The script was cool. But I'm have to be fair as a critic. I'm gonna give this movie a C. It's a C. It's a C movie. It's an average film. The acting is what puts it above. The relationship between Hope and Scott Lang is what pushed it up to that. Because before that, it probably would have been a D+. It has elements, but that comedy really just tanks the story. It's like, damn, you keep going back and forth. You keep going back and forth. I mean, there's parts where you see Michael Pena more than you see Lawrence Fishburne. And for me, for an Ant-Man Wasp movie, that's bogus. You know what I mean? And I'm not hating on Michael Pena. This shit was funny he was saying, but that's where it kills the elements of the movie, because it becomes only an entertainment and not a story-driven type of movie, which I think they could have really went going into the quantum realm. But I hope you guys enjoyed the review where I keep that shit 100 at all times, baby. Shout out to Team J3. Thumbs this video up and don't forget to push the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. J3 out.